Higher education is becoming a frustrating gatekeeper to economic mobility for Americans of all backgrounds. People of all stripes are trying to get a post-secondary experience that will give them the lift that they need without drowning in debt along the way. Did you know that nearly 16 million Americans were enrolled at one of our higher education institutions as of spring 2022? That includes public and private colleges and universities, community colleges, and our nation's technical colleges. But that doesn't even begin to count the millions of Americans that were enrolled in coding boot camps, in apprenticeship programs, non-credit credentialing programs, and employer-led upskilling programs throughout the country. There is huge demand for a post-secondary education, yet many people are rejected by traditional higher education institutions, priced out or unable to make their schedules work with the schedules that traditional higher education wants us to keep. And when they do get access to a higher education institution, many of them do not complete their program of study. I want to get behind the curtain of our American higher education system and ask the hard questions about why so many of our colleges and universities, along with their associated institutions, make it so hard for everyday working people to attend. Hi, my name is Eloy Ortiz Oakley, and I have the privilege of welcoming you to my new podcast and YouTube channel. It's called the RANT. While my day job as president and CEO of the College Futures Foundation, this podcast is my own. What I say, my opinions, my rants are strictly my own opinions. For those of you who know me, the name of the podcast, The Rant, will come as no surprise to you. You know that I love a soapbox, and you know that I love to rant about our higher education system. For those of you who don't know me, you'll soon learn how passionate I am about democratizing higher education and making sure that people of all backgrounds have greater access to a good post-secondary experience and can achieve the American dream. So who is this podcast for? This podcast is for anyone that cares about our higher education system. So if you're a student or a parent of a student, this podcast is for you. If you're a faculty member or college administrator who's trying to make your campus meet students where they're at, this podcast is for you. If you're a scholar, a researcher, or a policymaker who's hoping to use post-secondary education as a means, as a lever for economic and social mobility, this podcast is for you. So a little bit about me. I have been in and around higher education for more than 30 years. First, as a student, I didn't go to college right out of high school. I went to the United States Army and spent 4 years serving my country, a decision I will never regret. It wasn't until a few years later that I stepped foot on a higher education campus. It was one of our California community colleges, Golden West College. And from there, I transferred to the University of California, Irvine. And since then, I've held several leadership posts in higher education, primarily at our community colleges. I spent nearly 10 years as president of Long Beach City College, one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. I then served nearly 6 years as chancellor of the California Community Colleges, our nation's largest and most diverse system of post-secondary education. I've also served nearly 8 years as a member of the Board of Regents of the University of California, one of America's finest R1 public university systems. And I've also been a senior advisor to the U.S. Secretary of Education. So I've had many years and many experiences in higher education. I'd like to share those experiences with you, help you get behind the curtain of our higher education system and really dig into what's going on behind that curtain. What is really happening in our higher education system, and how can we work together to improve our higher education system so that more Americans have access to a great post-secondary experience. So join me on a journey as we discuss, debate, sometimes argue what's happening in our higher education systems. We'll dig into some really important topics. We'll talk about why so many students are rejecting the current value proposition in higher education and turning away from going to college, why there's so much enrollment decline in America. What about our college ranking systems and why don't they make sense anymore? We'll also talk about nonprofit institutions. We'll talk about how many institutions profit off the back of students, particularly student data. We'll also talk about all of your favorite topics, from CRT to SAT to AP, OPMs, XYZ, and everything in between. So join me on this journey as we peel apart the onion that is our American higher education system. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, follow us on your favorite podcast platform, leave your comments, and let us know how we're doing. If there's something you want us to tackle, leave it in the comments and let me know. We'll be happy to dig into it. So I look forward to joining you on this journey, working with you, learning with you, and I look forward to the rant.